weigh in on that is Wisconsin Congressman Sean Duffy, who joins me live on the Curvy Couch. Good to see you again.
Hey, good to see you, Gretchen.
So what do you make of Jonah Goldberg's comments that the youth really doesn't matter? Should the Republicans be going after the youth?
Listen, the youth are still going to come out and vote in this next election cycle, and I think, I don't know that we have to necessarily have a certain specific agenda for them. What we see the youth doing is looking at what Obama has offered them, which is a bailout and more social programs. And they see that when they graduate from college, that hasn't translated into a job for them. And so where they're at right now is saying, listen, as I graduate from college, I have to go home and live with my mom and dad. I can't find a job. I may be working at Starbucks. What I really want is opportunity like my parents had. And I think when we project that message, they're going to find a home in the Republican Party. But that's the message we're selling all of Americans right now.
But look at how well candidate Obama did with the youth, 66% compared to John McCain at 32%. I mean, the whole message of hope and change really seemed to resonate with the young people. One of the things that you equate now is what happened after President Carter and more youth voting for President Reagan the next time around. Do you think that that would happen maybe this time?
Well, absolutely. I think you saw the malaise of the Carter years transition to a massive vote turnout for Reagan. I think we're going to see the same in this election cycle. And 4 years ago, the youth saw President Obama. He was cool, he was hip, he could dance, he could sing. But that coolness hasn't transferred into a job for them. And right now, they're not looking for the cool hip guy. They're looking for real policies that are going to give them a job as they now go into the job market.
One of the most signature pieces of legislation that the president put into law during the first 3.5 years, Obamacare. You have now submitted a bill to do just the opposite, to repeal it. What does it say?
I have. So first off, we think it's important that we engage in the debate as Republicans. And so often Republicans weren't having this conversation with Americans. We saw this as a social issue instead of an economic issue. And so what I've done is said, listen, I think it's important we put our ideas on the table. So I put out a bill that I think can get bipartisan support. We have competition across state lines. We're able to pool resources together to have more buying power with different segments of the population. We're working on price transparency. We're bringing out an expansion of HSAs. We're dealing with tort reform. A lot of these issues come together where we're breeding competition, putting the power back into the hands of the consumer, which is the patient, and taking it out of the bureaucratic hands, which Obamacare does.
But you say you have bipartisan support. In the House, this would probably be passed because the Republicans have control, but bipartisan support in the Senate?
No. What I'm saying is I think these are ideas that can garner bipartisan support. Right now, we see all Democrats not willing to repeal Obamacare. But if you look at this, whether it's going to be next month and the Supreme Court's decision, or if it's going to be in the election, I think the odds of dealing with health care again, getting a second kick of the cat, is really going to happen. So we have to engage in this conversation, and I think my bill does that, at least as a starting point, to have that conversation.
There's been a lot of conversation in your home state of Wisconsin about the recall election that's coming up. Governor Scott Walker under attack now. He's going to face the same opponent that he had just 18 months ago. What do you make of the recall, and which way is it going to go?
Well, first of all, if you look at Wisconsin, I think we're at the tip of the spear here, and we see a state that's divided. But if you look at the polling, I think that Scott Walker has an edge, and what this is going to come down to is really who gets the vote out. And if you look at the primaries and the recalls, we saw Scott Walker voters come out in mass force. And what I'm seeing is, so I have the northwest quarter of Wisconsin. We see people who haven't put a yard sign in their yard ever getting politically involved, putting out Scott Walker signs, engaging with the governor who they think has stood up for them, taking a $3 billion structural deficit in a couple of years, turning that into a surplus. So they see what the governor's done, they see that it's working, and they're going to come out and support him.
It'll be interesting to see. It'll be a close race, no doubt. Congressman Sean Duffy, Republican from Wisconsin, you're going to face your own re-election coming up in November. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gretchen.
Coming up, if President Obama still